Hey, welcome back. So today we're at the Dash for Cash Criterium in Pleasanton, California. This is the Cat 3-4, 35 plus, and 40 plus Masters race. So to sum this up, this was stressful. After the race, a lot of people said this was the sketchiest race they've ever done. A couple said it was a shit show. I can't say they were wrong. So that's what I'm going to be talking about for most of this video. People say sketchy is a catch-all when they're feeling unsafe in response to how others around them are riding. However, that doesn't really explain what exactly is sketchy about it. So I wanted to highlight what specific things people were doing and raise the question for how someone might improve. Especially as Masters racers, we should be focused on making it safe, so we can all go to work on Monday. We should all also remember that we're all relatively new and we're certainly not pro. Just because we're not Cat 5 anymore doesn't mean we're all still not learning. We all make mistakes. So just note that while I might be using someone as an example, I recognize that everyone has off days, and these examples don't represent them as a rider. I'll even show a couple things I did wrong myself. Before I jump into this though, I want to call out a specific behavior that I think is unacceptable. That's yelling at, berating, or otherwise talking down to others during or after the race. Remember that everyone in that field earned their way in the exact same way you did. And for us Cat 3s and 4s, that's honestly not a lot. It takes 10,000 hours to be an expert at something, and none of us have that amount of time in the pack. So let's talk about the yelling first. This isn't just the typical be careful guys or take it easy, or it was full on screaming. Let me show you a couple clips. So I know most of you are here for the wreck, so let's get that one out of the way first. Now this rider was pretty ambitious. He wanted to keep on going. If he wants to be aggressive, he can go around. Saying keep pedaling doesn't really do anything. There was a lot going on that I don't think he was preparing for. Either that or he had some kind of death wish. Alright, let's check out this clip in slow motion so you can see what exactly is going on. The rider crashed up front. People are getting out of the way. But if you look to the left and the right, at the same time, you'll see one rider, two riders run over that wheel, one guy on the left, two riders on the left hit the cones. A rider hits the bike, and here comes our friend. Right on me. I actually had to lean into him in order to stay up because I was kind of falling over. This is not safe cycling, and this is not respectful cycling. I do want to give a shout out to all the riders that stayed up though. Their great bike handling skills and focus on safety made this a lot less bad than it could have been. Another thing I want to call out is that this particular rider said on his Strava that this race was full of Cat 5 racers. And he amusingly said that his sprint wasn't worth it. I want to show you this clip from the end of the race where he's sprinting for 40th place and almost takes out my front wheel. Now, if almost taking me out wasn't bad enough, sprinting for 40th place is definitely Cat 5. I'm mostly joking. I know that people make mistakes, but really, it was the trash talking on Strava that got to me and that I really think doesn't belong in cycling. So let's look at another case where yelling can cause problems.
Careful! Whoa, damn! Know where you're going! Straight! Drive right, you a bump! Don't listen to him, chill out.
So this rider made a mistake, and then the masters started talking to him in typical master fashion, but that caused this rider to look behind him. If they hadn't have said anything at all, the rider probably wouldn't have looked behind him, and it probably wouldn't have gotten worse. I ended up riding up next to him just to say some words to hopefully get him to relax a little bit more. Being nervous makes you make more mistakes. If we did have some advice that he could learn from, then we could talk to him after and tell him how he could improve. This next example is quite a level down from the rest of them, but I wanted to point it out. This rider that's going to be coming up here on the left, it seems to be going back and forth quite a bit. He was mostly a pretty good rider, but every once in a while he'd get pinched and his wheel would go back and forth. I almost wonder if he was getting nervous and tightening up, and that resulted in him doing that. I also felt like he maybe pushed it a little too far to try and get in a good position, and maybe should have just backed out a lot more times. Here's one more example where this rider would get pinched and kind of wobble a little bit. Like I say, this rider was pretty good. If you do notice that a rider is consistently making bad decisions, it's probably just a good rider to stay away from, but it doesn't help to yell at them. See, again, I don't think it's him as a rider. I really just think it's him getting nervous because he's in a position that he's not comfortable in. So he could either relax or just back out to be more relaxed. All right, I wanted to step back from talking about the things that people did bad and talk about the last lap of this race. So this is Bell Lap, and during the 20 minutes that we had of downtime, as the ambulance came in for that crash, Alex talked to me and said, "How are you feeling?" I told him I was feeling pretty good, and he said, "Okay, halfway through the last lap, I want you to lead me out to the final corner." So I said, "Okay." I'd never done a lead out before, and so it was a good day to try. But sitting right here, I was thinking, oh man, I'm actually pretty far back. I don't know if I can do this, so I was just planning on sitting out. But then the heavens opened. This left-hand side became totally open, and I just went for it. And you can see me, Alex was there on the front. He was going to join up with me, but he wasn't on my wheel, and I knew he wasn't on my wheel, so I was getting nervous, and I thought, well, am I leading out somebody else? Somebody else was yelling, "Go, go, go." And so I was actually thinking, maybe I'll let this other person pass me, and then he'll lead out Alex for the corner. So this other rider came around me, and you can see him look back and shake his head like, oh no, I'm in a bad position. He knew it. He actually probably should have stayed on my wheel. I didn't increase my power, but I didn't go down either. So luckily that person coming around me was actually a good thing for Alex, and he was able to recover and take second. So I'll call that a successful lead out. It was a win for me. He got second because one person was off the front. He did win the bunch sprint. So anyway, yeah, that's all I have. Thanks a lot for watching and sticking around to the end.